Me better now? Yeah. Okay. My name is Jillian Wise. I'm with Far Out Tiny Homes. We're at 14555 US 95 in Boulder City. I was asked to be here by Mr. Gibson's office, so thank you so very much, just to talk on behalf of Tiny Homes and answer any questions. I feel before we get too far down the rabbit hole with this discussion, we need to look at it through a few different lenses, and that being that, well, there is an affordability aspect to tiny homes. There is also the downsizing aspect, and so while this attracts people who may have less, it also attracts folks that approach life with a minimalist lifestyle that don't have less. And so we definitely don't want to get in the pigeonhole of assuming that everyone that is attracted to this lifestyle is of lower income. That's incorrect. It definitely is part of it. It can definitely help create a solution and not offer a Band-Aid for our current housing crisis, which is incredibly important. When it comes to square footage requirements, they are classified 400 square feet or less on a chassis or not. Within the International Residential Code, specifically the 2018 IRC, there is an appendix named Appendix Q that actually speaks on the specifics of code requirements for tiny homes being 400 square feet or less, whether they're on a permanent foundation or a chassis. So we do have a little bit of direction, and there's actually some movement that we could make in Clark County right now to bring this to the forefront of our housing situation. So we do have direction, which is fantastic. I think what we lack is just a place to put these, because right now they've been pigeonholed into only being allowed in RV parks, trailer parks, or manufactured home communities, which by no means is a bad thing, but the folks that I speak with, they would like to own a small slice of the pie. They want to own a small parcel with a small home, tiny home. Or some of them want to remain mobile, keep it on the chassis. So there are so many different folks that are interested in this lifestyle, and I think we kind of need to broaden our lens and really look at housing diversification and using this as a densification movement, pairing them as ADUs, which would be a great move, a fantastic move. We just have to make sure that we're keeping fees accessible. So we don't want to go ahead and move through this process, and then we're assigning, $10,000 worth of fees just to get this home in the back of somebody's yard, if that makes sense. That's what other counties have done, and it just makes the movement stagnant. So that's kind of my 2 cents, but if I'm here to answer any questions that you all might have.
Well, I'm gonna, and Commissioner Sagerblum, I'll go to you in a second. And I get that there are probably wealthy people that want this minimal lifestyle, but like for instance, where are you thinking about putting them together? Because what we don't want to see is a bunch of row homes, right? Of tiny homes with no amenities, no transit, no any of that, because they're great today, but what does it look like 10 years from now? This is a new thing. So where do you envision them? I heard you say in backyards. We're not really talking about accessory structures because they could maybe many people are already doing something similar to that, but where do you envision these things going?
Yeah, that's just one approach, would be as an ADU. But a more thorough approach would be if we can find obscure land. I mean, we have so much land out here, and because these are such tiny homes, we're able to par down that parcel. And you don't need to have a large minimum square footage lot size in order to place a tiny home on it. So what I've seen places like California do, they kind of have like maybe funky pieces of land that they don't really know what to do with, that they can actually rezone and place tiny homes on, just because the footprint is so small.
I think you're talking me out of it, but go ahead, Commissioner Sagerblum.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've been looking at this kind of generally around the country, and truthfully, I think it'd be great for us to, maybe staff could pick several cities, or maybe even within like the Bay Area, and go visit and see how they actually are working. I'm looking at Sacramento. Seems to the city actually owns some, and they're trying to move them around. As you said, Alameda County is working on this. So I mean, there's lots of different ideas out there, and I would love to just, if there are actually some places where they're working, go see how they work, and then come back and put that into the discussion.
Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you, in terms of the smaller parcels, like how small are we talking?
At parcel size, that is above my pay grade, honestly. I mean, the average tiny home that we build is 200 square feet.
No, I
And
get that, but
they
you're
do
saying you're saying in California, other places, they're using parcels that are too small for other types of development. So like, what are we talking
Yeah,
about?
or like triangular parcels they're just like weird shaped, maybe in areas that need a little bit of sprucing up, which I wouldn't want to just place them in that area. And I'm pretty sure that's written in the Senate Bill 150 as well, that these are not just supposed to be put in lower income areas, that they should be diverse and placed all around the city.
And I have some triangle pieces off Blue Diamond that really can't be used for anything else because they're too small to put a drive-through or whatever. But I guess I don't understand in terms of affordability, how do you, let's say, cram 3 or 4 houses on a tiny triangle parcel when you still have to put in all the utilities? I'm not getting the money part of that.
Sure, yeah, and I think that would just be the city working together to offer affordable housing. I mean, we have a housing crisis right now. I mean, what are we doing to address that? This is one way that we could potentially offer a small piece of the pie to folks that don't want to be burdened with $250,000 plus in debt. So
I get that. We at Clark County are doing a lot to address affordable housing, including several projects in my district right now. To the point you made with regards to people who choose a lifestyle, I do want to make sure if we're looking at other jurisdictions, which I think we should, look at those places where they have allowed tiny homes in rural areas or outlying places. Because I know in my district there was one proponent who was going to put in tiny homes for climbers that go out to Red Rock, and so that was his idea, and it kind of got scrapped because of the legislation. Mm-hmm. But I know others who want to go live in the woods, and they want the little tiny home because that's their thing. It's not my thing, but certainly we need to look at how they're dealing with those types of projects. And to Commissioner McCurdy's point, a couple of months ago, several people here in Southern Nevada, I think, did you go or no go at the end of the month? Up to Reno? We went up to Reno and toured some of their affordable housing projects up there. One of them was a tiny home facility up there on 5 acres. However, they built an entire central kitchen with all the facilities associated with it. And at the end of the day, it ended up being more expensive than a more traditional affordable housing projects that we do here, including the ones up there. So it was a cool concept. I think we need to have serious discussion about whether it's really the best ROI for an affordable housing project here in Southern Nevada.
And maybe stepping away from speaking of affordable housing projects and just thinking about making housing affordable. I mean, those are two completely different things. Right now, housing here is not affordable for a lot of people, especially my generation. I'm a millennial. I get calls from baby boomers all day, every day, wanting to downsize. How do I downsize? And I don't want to live in an RV. I don't want to live in an RV park. I want to live a minimalist lifestyle with a minimalist yard. Those are the kind of clients that need help, that need us to advocate for them and make a difference. And yeah, I'm sure infrastructure, building any sort of infrastructure is incredibly expensive. However, I'm sure that there's a way around it. Working together, we can think of something, but we need to be able to offer less than 1,200 square feet for folks that don't want to live in a house of that size and don't want to live in an RV and don't want to live in a manufactured home, because tiny homes are not manufactured homes. That's governed by HUD. We are not governed by HUD. We're generally speaking governed by ANSI, American National Standards Institute. And
Well, I represent a lot of manufactured homes, so before you go down that road, there's nothing wrong with that type of lifestyle. So,
there absolutely is nothing wrong
Commissioner
with that
Knapp.
lifestyle.
Thank you.
I agree with that.
Do you find that most of your customers, is it the life, are they looking for a tiny home, to Commissioner Jones's point, put in an isolated area? Or is there truly a market for these 200,000, I mean, that's a couple $100, $300 a square foot, $350. I mean, they're paying market price, basically. Is there a market for that individual who wants to live in a shared community?
There are both. We get a lot of people looking for bug-out units. Obviously, within the pandemic, we were super busy, so that was interesting. However, our main demographic, it's rather diverse. I have dinks, double income, no kids. I have single professionals, and I have a slew of elders that are looking just to downsize. These people have substantial income. They just don't buy into the American dream that is owning a home, a large home, and being strapped and burdened with large amounts of debt.
I guess the question, so what would differentiate it for that individual who wants to live in a smaller unit? Why would they not get a condo in a converted apartment complex or something?
Not
If they're not
everybody-
getting the land, what's the...
Right.
I
And
get
that-
the appeal of having a tiny home and having a lot of land, but I don't, if you're going to put them all in a community, what is the distinction? That's sort of where I struggle.
I mean, not everybody enjoys apartment life. I myself do not. I lived in a tiny house for 2 years. I've lived in apartments as well. And it's about having your own space. I mean, we lived in Alta Vista Trailer Park in our tiny home here in Henderson. So by no means am I degrading folks that live in trailers or manufactured housing. They were my neighbors. They are the reason that I'm here today because they want to live a different lifestyle. Some of them were interested in getting rid of their manufactured home to go into a tiny home. They're built differently. They're constructed differently. They're insulated differently.
So
It's just a different approach to housing.
building.
I'm sorry, what?
Higher quality of building material.
Exactly. We can build to IRC. I mean, with the adoption of Appendix Q, these homes, I mean, they're amazing. They're built to last. We can build on permanent foundations. We can build on chassis. But we have to be given the okay from, the state, the city, the county in order to do so. And so far, we have not had that option.
Thank you.
Commissioner McCarty.
Okay, so I think it's just going to be a question of which direction do we want to go as we try to solve for affordable housing, right? And we still have to determine if this is going to be affordable at all. I certainly think, just with being able to visit a few sites that we would, have like this, but I don't know if this, I don't know if it's a bad thing, but I certainly think that we should, continue to explore considering something like this. And it's just a question of, do we want to continue to build scattered sites with the limited amount of land that we have and the position that we find ourselves in, or do we want to go up and create more density? That's really, the consideration that we're going to have to make on this board, being that we have limited resources, water, et cetera, in my mind. But I certainly think that, having another option, and if there's a market for it, I think, it's something that we should probably just take a really hard look at and explore what's going on around the country.
And I love that you bring up the ecological footprint because the impact on tiny homes is substantial. Their carbon offset or carbon footprint is decreased by about 50% in comparison to a regular sized house. Consumption patterns change, daily life cycles change. So these homes are not just, they're small and something fantastic to look at. These people are literally changing the world by consuming less and living more. They become an experiential-based person versus a person of consumption.
Okay, Commissioner Gibson.
Where is the Alta Vista Mobile Home Park?
That's over on Lake Mead in Old Henderson.
So that used to be the Ballerina Trailer Park.
I'm not sure.
It did. It's at Warm Springs.
Yep,
And
right there.
Lake Mead, across the street from the
Cadence.
elementary school, the Sewell Elementary School. Yeah, okay.
So I guess for staff, the direction is to maybe go back and do some more research, look at